Welcome. Welcome to ISD 709, Duluth, Minnesota's regularly scheduled organizational meeting. This kicks off our 2024 monthly school board meetings. And again, this is ISD 709, the Duluth Public Schools. Our first order of business, after we call it to order, is for our newly elected school board members to fully accept their role this season. They have already signed all the official election documents. They've actually already signed the committed oath that they have taken after they were elected. But tonight is our opportunity to bring them forward to our community so that they can fully recite in front of all of us and our engaged community their commitment to ISD 709. So tonight it gives all of us great pleasure to be here tonight and to welcome our newly elected school board members. So before we're moving into item number 2 on our agenda, it is the oath of office. And so just tonight, to give us some background on this ceremonial oath, it is an honor that you were elected to guide the education of our community's children. Our community's children. As you recite the oath of office, you assume a tremendous responsibility as a director of our school district with the duties empowered by the Minnesota legislature. This power puts you and all of the other members of our school board in a position of being both morally and legally responsible for equitable, quality education of every student in our district. In carrying out this responsibility, you will be asked to fulfill the roles of vision, structure, accountability, and advocacy. In providing vision, the board, with extensive participation of our community, envisions the community's educational future and then formulates the goals, defines the outcomes, and sets the course for public education of our public schools. And to achieve the vision, the board establishes a structure and creates an environment designed to ensure all students the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. Because as a board, we must be accountable to the community. We must ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children. As board members, we serve as education's key advocates on behalf of students and our community schools to advance the vision of our schools. Furthermore, we must strive to work together with the superintendent and the superintendent's staff to lead the district toward fulfilling the vision we have created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills and knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. And so it gives me great honor to first recognize newly elected Member Banks for his oath of office.
Thank you.
And then I'm gonna share with you too the excitement that we're all gonna share it at the end of all 3 of our elected officials.
Right.
But it was a great start, and I don't want to diminish that response at the end of our night.
Having signed the acceptance of office and oath of office, I hereby publicly affirm my commitment to the oath of office. I, Henry Banks, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of member of the School Board of Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability. Thank you.
And then, remember, it is natural to just applaud afterwards, so I'll take my cue from my audience. Next is Member Mixell. Did I say that right?
Almost.
Almost.
Having signed the acceptance of office and oath of office, I hereby publicly affirm my commitment to the oath of office. I, Sarah Mikesell, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of member of the School Board of Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability.
And now I call on Member Williams for her oath of office.
Having signed the acceptance of office and oath of office, I hereby publicly affirm my commitment to the oath of office. I, Stephanie Williams, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of member of the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability.
I only hope that the rest of our meeting is filled with this kind of enthusiasm and meetings to come. We invite the audience always to attend our monthly meetings, and so you'll hear more about that at the end of our meeting. So now we're going to return to the agenda, and number 3 is roll call by Clerk Zadowski.
Member Banks. Member Eater is excused. Member Loeffler-Kemp. Here. Member Lofeld.
Here.
Member Mikesell.
Here.
I am here. Member Williams. Here. Superintendent Magus. Here. Assistant Superintendent Bonds.
Here.
Executive Director of HR and Operations Severance.
Here.
Board Secretary Paquette.
Here.
And that finishes the roll call.
So next, members, I am looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Member Loeffler-Kemp approves the agenda. A second?
Second.
Member Williams, and all those in favor, any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, I am asking for an approval of the agenda. Oh, I'm asking for a vote. So all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have an agenda. So tonight, many of our duties tonight revolve around the election of our leadership for our upcoming 2024 school board. So the first election is number 5 on the agenda. It's the election of the chairperson. And some instructions about our elections tonight before we get going is that our elections are an open vote. So we either do it by roll call, or we can all do an aye or a nay, depending on how many are nominated for those positions. So that it's an open vote. There are no secret ballots allowed. Again, we'll vote by roll call if there's more than one person selected and nominated for a position. The secretary, Zadowski, who's sitting secretary right now until we have elections, will record the votes, as well as Executive Secretary Paquette. Any board member can nominate themselves. And we can also board members can nominate another board member, and we always ask if that board member accepts that nomination. So that's the process. So you can nominate yourself. A board member can nominate another board member, and then that board member would either accept or not accept. We don't have to have a second at these nominations. There doesn't have to be that. Temporary chair, which is me right now, will call 3 times for nominations for the office. I will also close the nominations, and then we'll have the vote. The majority of votes required is more than half, and abstentions do not count. If only one person is nominated for one of the officers, then the acting chair can declare that that candidate is elected by acclamation. And if there are two or more for one of our officers, a show of hands is needed in the majority, and there is a majority, 7, but there's only 6 here tonight. So that will be a little bit more of us to look into that, but I do have how those votes will be counted majority when there's 6 board members. Any questions? Seeing none, we looked for number 5, and I'm looking for nominations for this year's board chair. Member Loeffler-Kemp.
I nominate Jill Lofold, and I appreciate the time and commitment you've put in this past year as well.
I accept. Are there other nominations for board chair? Are there other nominations for board chair? Are there other nominations for board chair? Seeing no other nominations, I close nominations. And by the roll acclamate, I don't know how. So there are no other nominations, so I'm elected as your board chair for 2024 by acclamation. And I thank you so much for your support. Our next item on our agenda is the election of a vice chair. So nominations are open for our vice chair for the 2024. Do I have nominations?
I would like to nominate Member Sadowski.
Thank you.
Sadowski, sorry.
Yep, thank you. I'm really honored to be nominated. I'm going to decline that nomination right now. Thank you. I'm going to nominate Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Are there other nominations for vice chair? Are there other nominations for vice chair? Are there other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, we will, by acclamation, Member Loeffler-Kemp is our vice chair for 2024. And then we go to item number 7. It is the election of our clerk. Is there nominations are now open for our clerk? I would like to nominate Member Zadowski to continue in the role of clerk. This is her finish. She just finished her first year, and I feel that that's a really good skill set for Member Zadowski, so I nominate Member Zadowski. Do you accept? I accept. Are there other nominations? Are there other nominations? Are there other nominations? Seeing no other nominations, by acclamation, Member Zadowski is our 2024 clerk of our board. Thank you. And so number 8 is our election of treasurer. And so nominations for our treasurer position is open. Member Zadowski.
I nominate Member Eater.
And Member Eater has turned in her committee assignments, and on there, because she knew she was going to not be able to attend, she's ill, and so she's asked me to, share her regret that she's not with us tonight, but just was not able to be here for medical reasons. And she did put on here that she has served as our treasurer and would appreciate either a self-nomination or a nomination by another board member, so I appreciate that, Member Zadowski. And so I can say that Member Eater at least accepts the nomination. Are there other nominations? Are there other nominations? Are there other nominations? Seeing no other nominations, I close nominations, and by acclamation, Member Eater is our treasurer again for 2024. And I thank you. And again, I appreciate the leadership of our school board And again, we all have the same vote. There are 7 members of the board, and just because we are seated in an officer role does not diminish any of our work as a school board. We are fully engaged, we fully understand our roles, and all of us bring to the table vast experiences, deep knowledge, and the ability to work together for the best of our students. So as holding office, certainly it's a little bit more, signatures, a little bit more paperwork, and a little bit more extra meeting here or there, but it really is about a team that has a skill set that is benefiting all of our students and bringing forth the best for our staff, our students, our leadership. And so I appreciate the leads that you've all taken, and I really look forward to encouraging our new board members and finding their skills and their leadership, and they'll find it amongst all of us. So again, I really appreciate the officer nominations and the completion of our leadership team, but we are all strong voices, strong advocates, and we will work as a team this season, and I look forward to that. And so again, just a round of applause for all of us and our leads. That brings us to number 9, and it's the appointment of our deputy clerk. And our deputy clerk is, so our deputy clerks and our executive director of business services and finance. So our deputy clerk, help me out, members, executive secretary Paquette, state the role, not the name. So we elect a deputy clerk, and we need a motion. And we need a motion of the executive director of business services and finance, who is Simone Zunich. We do that all in one motion? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to have a deputy clerk and to also name Simone Zunich as our Director of Business and Services.
So moved.
And it looks like Member Williams is making the motion. Who's our second?
Second.
Member Mike Sell is our second. All those in favor of those two, one's a position and one is Simone Zunich, say aye. Aye. Members opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is the appointment of board secretaries. So we state the role. It's our executive secretary. Our executive secretary for the school board makes sure that all of our materials, all of our setup, all of our needs through all of the different organizations and working with the superintendent. So we're accepting the secretaries. We have an executive assistant to the superintendent, and we have a business service coordinator who does all the finances and all the work for our HR business meetings. The executive secretary right now is Patty Paquette, but we're not necessarily making the motion with your name in it? Or Brett's?
Correct, just with the positions.
Okay. So we are making a motion to accept the executive assistant to the superintendent and the business service coordinator. Do I have such a motion? So moved. Member Loeffler Kemp makes the motion. Is there a second? Member Zadowski makes the second, and so any discussion or questions? Seeing none, we accept, is there a motion? All those who accept the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to a number of resolutions. Again, organizational meetings at the beginning of our season, we make a lot of resolutions that will then go throughout our whole term. We have a resolution of our meeting times, a resolution of acceptance of collateral, and actually, they'll read those resolutions. I don't have to read them aloud. But we do read them in for formal adoption, and we vote on each one of them. So I turn to Member Loeffler Kemp for our first resolution, A.
Okay, and Chair Loeffel told me I was going to be the example, so I hope I do this right. I move Resolution B1244005, resolution selection of meeting dates and times Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that the regular meetings of the school board shall be held the third Tuesday of each month at 6:30 PM at the District Service Center, unless otherwise scheduled by the school board. Be it further resolved that if the regular meeting is canceled and cannot be held on the regularly scheduled date listed above due to weather or unforeseen circumstances, it will be held the very next day at the same time and location. I move Resolution B1244005.
Is there a second? Member Zadowski seconds. All those, any discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution B-24-4005 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our second resolution, I call on Member Zadowski.
I'm going to move Resolution B-1-24-4006. It's the resolution for the designation of depositories and acceptance of collateral, resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that Harbor Point Credit Union, North Shore Bank of Commerce, BMO, Harris Bank, U.S. Bank, Key Bank, Wells Fargo, Park State Bank, and Western Bank shall be depositories of the funds of this school district for up to a one-year period commencing January 1st, 2024, and said bank shall be required to deposit with said district collateral securities subject to approval by the school board and kept in trust. Resolved that the collateral securities pledged by Harbor Point Credit Union and placed in trust at Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, North Shore Bank of Commerce, and placed in trust at U.S. Bank, N.A. Key Bank, and placed in trust at Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, all as provided by law and evidenced by trust agreements executed by the treasurer of the school board, an officer of the depository bank, and acknowledged by an officer of the bank holding the securities in trust shall be approved. And then we have Harbor Point Credit Union for $250,000, North Shore Bank of Commerce for a max of $250,000, BMO Harris Bank, same amount, U.S. Bank, same amount, Wells Fargo Bank, same amount. So resolved that the treasurer, clerk, and/or executive director of business services and finance shall be authorized to arrange for the exchange, release, or placing of additional collateral, provided that in all instances, such exchange, releases, or placing of additional collateral shall be approved by the school board, and all new collateral shall be placed in trust with the respective aforementioned institutions.
I'm looking for a second to this motion. Member Williams is a second. All those, any discussion, questions? All those in favor of moving this resolution, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I just want to remind our board members, too, to really hug that mic. I can see a few of us out in the audience, and I know that we are continually improving or trying to improve our sound in our new building, and so if we just remember to pull it kind of close, that will be great, and really articulate. I'm going to move, our next resolution is a resolution of authority to perform electronic fund transfers. So Resolution B-1-24-4007, a designation of authority to perform electronic fund transfers. Resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that the Executive Director of Business Services and Finance has the authority to designate a district employee to initiate electronic fund transfers as required by Minnesota Statute 471.38. I move Resolution B-1-24-4007. Is there a second?
Second.
Member Mike Sell seconds the motion. Any questions? Concerns? All those in favor of moving this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our next resolution, I call on Member Mike Sell.
I move Resolution B-1-24-4008, approving the continued participation of student school board representatives. Whereas the School Board of Duluth Public Schools, ISD 709, has included student school board representatives since January 2005, and whereas student school board representatives provide the school board with a student voice and youth perspective, and whereas the Minnesota School Boards Association encourages school boards to develop a process to include student representatives, and whereas the superintendent and the high school principals have reviewed and revised where necessary the selection process for appointing student school board representatives, therefore be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 709 approves the continued participation of one student school board representative each from Denfeld High School, Duluth East High School, and the Area Learning Center. Be it further resolved that the term for the 2024 Student School Board Representatives will be January 2nd, 2024 to December 31st, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Member Loeffler Kemp is our second. Is there any questions or comments? Member Banks?
Thank you. I have a quick question about this role that students have. Over my years within, coming to meetings like this where folks are in the audience, I've never seen a student of color with that role. So if that is not the case, or if it is the case, could someone clarify that for me? Why have there not been kids of color with that opportunity?
If I may.
Member Zadowski?
Actually, last year, we had a youth of color who was our Denfeld student rep, and she did an amazing job and got a full ride to a scholarship, actually, to college.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that clarification. Thank you.
Okay, that was not this past term, but the term before. Yeah. And we remember, and Soraya. Yeah, Soraya. And then last year, our two reps from our Area Learning Center were both young women of color. So, yeah, there's an avenue, but we can always make sure that we continue to have the goal of a diverse student rep and how that works. Member Loeffler Kemp.
I would just add, too, we can go over with you the process that the schools actually pick the student reps, so we kind of have guidelines in that, and we can review those, but it goes back to the students at each school, I believe. Yeah.
Very happy that that's happening, and I'd love to see more of that, too. Thank you.
And so that brings us to the next resolution on our agenda. Oh, we didn't vote on it. Okay, that's right, we had discussion. So all those in favor of having our student school board reps say aye? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for that discussion as well. And so moving on, we are then, in our agenda, it would be number 11, and it is the E. And I'll turn it over to Member Williams. Selection of district legal counsel. You're right, I just kind of made it look like the E.
Yeah, thank you. I move Resolution B-1-24-4009, selection of district's legal counsel, resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that the following firms have been selected as legal counsel for the district: Freiberger Law Firm, Dreyer and Peterson, Ratwick, Rozak and Maloney, Squires, Waldsberger and Mace. Resolve that the authorized contact persons for the district are as follows: Chair of the School Board, Superintendent of Schools, Executive Assistant to Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent, Executive Director of Business Services and Finance, Executive Assistant to the CFO, Executive Director of Business Services, Director of Special Education, Manager of Facilities, Finance Manager, Executive Director of Human Resources, Facilities and Operations, Human Resources Manager, Human Resources Benefits Coordinator.
I'm looking for a second to this resolution.
Second.
Member Zadowski is our second. Any discussion, questions,
Question.
Member Banks?
Just for clarification, can you explain to me each of the law firms that are mentioned, what their specialties are, what kind of service they're providing to the school district? Because I noticed there are two from Duluth, one from St. Paul, one from Minneapolis, so there must be specialties involved. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Superintendent or?
And both of us can share on that. So they do have different specialties. The Duluth law firms quite often have helped us with things like property-related matters, real estate matters, where it's helpful to have somebody geographically close. And I actually closed that particular one, so I'm opening it back up, so I have the names. We also have been represented by Attorney Mace in a lawsuit that we had previously, and they've helped us out in those circumstances. And then Ratwick, Rossick, and Maloney, they have helped quite a bit with just general legal matters, some things with negotiations, sometimes things related to release of information. For instance, there was a question that was asked by a board member about there was a particular question asked about sharing of names and things like that through the listening sessions, and we saw some clarification there, so I shared it with individuals. So even though the individuals that are listed are the people that are the contacts, quite often it's information that we'll share with the whole board or share with other departments within. But those four law firms, they do specialize in different ways, and I'm sure we could elaborate further if we have further questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.
And wouldn't it be fair to say, Superintendent, that at times we seek our legal counsel because of their location and conflict of interest sometimes if it is an area that we feel our Duluth representation maybe, has some concerns about, so we also have, legal that is outside the Duluth area?
Yes, and I would say particularly Ratwick, Rossick, and Maloney, they have really deep experience with school law, and they run a school law conference every year. And so their level of expertise in the specialty of school law has been really helpful. But again, as you mentioned, sometimes there are things that are community deep issues that we want to make sure that we have an outside perspective, because sometimes people might have conflict of interest if they are here and maybe have kids in the school or maybe represented on a certain group that might be represented for the conflict. So we try and seek that outside resource. We do use the legal firms fairly extensively because we want to make sure that we're keeping things legal, and there's also quite a bit of change in the state statutes, and so sometimes even from year to year we're having to seek additional interpretation, and so making sure that we have that background is really important. So that also keeps us safe from liability and ensures that we're following through with the legal aspects that we need to. Great questions, though.
Any other questions? Member
More of
Lafleur-Kim?
a comment. Thank you for asking that, Member Banks. I had this similar question when I first got on the board about kind of the whys of the law firms we had and having ones from the Twin Cities as well. I was just going to add is that next week when we all go down to the Minnesota School Board Association Conference, many of these law firms have booths at the exhibit area, and so you do have an opportunity to go and meet. Sometimes some of the folks that are listed here are there, but just kind of get to know, and they really appreciate when you go to their booths and say, I'm on the school board in Duluth, and you're one of our law firms. So you will have that opportunity next week as well. So.
Seeing no other questions or concerns, I'm looking for a vote. All those in favor of moving the resolution for our legal counsel, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to our next resolution is Member Lafleur-Kemp.
Okay, I move Resolution B1244010, resolution accepting the 11 tools of civility. Whereas the residents of Duluth Public Schools ISD 709 place a high value on respect and civility in their lives, and they understand that these characteristics are essential to any healthy community. And whereas the School Board of Independent School District 709 supports opportunities for civil discourse and discussion in the community and within the school district. And whereas the School Board of Independent School District 709 addresses sometimes controversial issues about which people often feel passionately and which at times leads to uncivil behavior. And whereas an atmosphere of incivility and disrespect can have a damaging effect on the proceedings, on the quality of debate, and on the practice of democracy itself. Therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District Number 709 recognizes 11 tools of civility as encouraged by the Speak Your Piece, the Civility Project, which is through the Duluth Superior Community Foundation, that will provide increased opportunities for civil discourse in order to to find positive resolutions to the issues that face our community. These tools include pay attention, 2, listen, 3, be inclusive, 4, don't gossip, 5, show respect, 6, be agreeable, 7, apologize, 8, give constructive criticism, 9, take responsibility, 10, be honest and care for others, and 11, show your evidence, share your reasoning. Be it further resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 709 shall promote the use and adherence of these tools in conducting the business of the school board. And we do read this at each meeting. So I move Resolution B1244010.
Is there a second?
I have a question. Is that after the second?
After
Okay.
yeah.
I second.
Member Williams, second, and then any questions, concerns, discussion. Member Williams.
I guess I would like some clarification on number 6, be agreeable. What, can you define what that means? Because obviously, we're not always going to agree on every issue. So can you define what be agreeable means when it comes to civility, just for clarification?
I might ask, so the question is can we look at question number 6 on be agreeable? And I had a conversation with Member Paquette about if you go to the Civility Project webpage, they identify what their intent was when they developed these tools of civility with what be agreeable means. But Member Williams, your question is well stated. We've had conversation, and we are actually hoping that we can take the tools of civility and do some further dive into what each of these mean. But Member Paquette, can you grab that website real quick? If you go to Civility Project of Duluth? Because if you watch our board meeting from last year, we had a conversation on this. And we said at that meeting that we would be interested in coming back to this and having deeper conversation. Because be acceptable or be agreeable when we might not agree, and in actuality, it's healthy for us to have conversation. Member Mike Sell.
Secretary Paquette, I believe it's under the poster on the civility page. It is. And I've looked at that earlier today because I was also having questions about that. And it's my understanding that it's more when having discussion, recognize that everyone's coming to that discussion from a positive place, wanting to do the best for our students and our schools. And so being agreeable that we were all coming to this from a positive place. But if the Secretary Paquette is able to read that definition, that would probably be more helpful.
So I have 2 separate ones. One that I looked up just gives like 2 lines with it. It's saying, be agreeable, look for opportunities to agree, don't contradict just to do so. And then this other one, it gives a little bit more. It says that look for opportunities to agree, don't contradict just to do so. It says rise above emotions, focus on the issues, build relationships, make a connection, and work towards mutual trust.
Thank you. I mean, that is the assumption that I made, but I like that we put it out there as us, a new group, to define what that means before we all agree to be agreeable. So thank you for that discussion.
And again, I have had conversation with Executive Secretary Paquette that I would like for our going forward. I don't know if we want to always read the sub-points under each one that the civility project developed, but I certainly want it on the handout that we have we have this handout in our board book every week in our folders, but if it would put the smaller definitions underneath. And then I've also asked Member Paquette if she can live stream this onto our screens. So when we are reading this for our public, we have it on the screens around us so our community can follow along as well. But good questions, Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Yeah, and I actually asked Chair Loffold if we, when we do our first workshop with the new members, which is going to be January 25th, that we talk about this in terms of, as we talk about how we're going to work well together. So.
So seeing no other lights on, we have a motion and a second on the tools of civility. I'd just like to share that, we have had this as a guidepost for a long time. I mean, I think Member Loeffler-Kemp is our longest-serving board member right now, and it's been before her time, and it was created, by Duluth organizations and lots of input, and we're honored. I know we all are, whether we have questions about what each one means doesn't deny that it's not a good tool, but it does need some clarification and some reminders, and, some things, yeah. So we're all on the same page there, that's good. So all those in favor of accepting the 11 tools of civility, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our next resolution is Member Banks.
Thank you. I'm moving Resolution B-1-24-4011, Resolution Selection of District's Official Newspaper. Resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that the district's official newspaper will continue to be the Duluth News Tribune.
Is there a second?
Second.
Member Williams seconds. Any discussion, questions on the selection of district's official newspaper? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution B-1-24-4011, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're almost there. The next resolution, Member Zadowski.
It's not quite as long as the last one, but almost. So I'm going to move Resolution B-1-24-4012, a resolution for the authorization for the superintendent of schools and the executive director of business services and finance to sign contracts and grants. Resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that to increase operational efficiency, it is requested that authorization to sign expenditure contracts for the lease, purchase, and contract for goods or services within budgetary and policy limits up to $100,000 be granted to the superintendent of schools and executive director of business services and finance. This delegation of authorization is allowable under Minnesota Statute 123B.52, Subdivision 2. The superintendent's designee will review each contract before execution. Resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that the superintendent of schools, in his or her absence, the executive director of business services and finance be designated the legal authorized representative to sign applications and execute grant documents for and on behalf of the school district in connection with federal and state laws and funding authorities and local public and private funding agencies that offer categorical financial support to this school district. Resolved by the School Board of ISD 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that a list of all the above contracts and grants hereby approved by the superintendent or the executive director of business services and finance will be provided as an informational item at the first possible regular school board meeting following the approval action.
Is there a second to this lengthy resolution? Member Banks seconds. Is there questions, comments?
So I suppose this means that the superintendent has the authority, as it says here, to not have to come back to the board for certain kinds of approvals, correct? Okay, so it's up to $100,000. I know of other organizations that are smaller than the school district, and theirs are very similar to this. Is there a reason why this is so small, or is that a normal kind of thing across the state, or, because I know our budget here is quite large. So,
So can you, to clarify your question, are you asking, is the $100,000 like quite small from what you think it is, or it's too large for what you think it is?
no, I think it's quite small based on the overall budget. And so I just want
Okay.
clarification, am I overthinking this, or does that seem reasonable? What is happening across the state, for example?
I would say that for a school district of our size, this is probably an average amount. It might be a little on the lower amount, but it's within range. Prior to being here in Duluth, I was in Green Bay, and the district was about 2.5 times the size, and the superintendent had authorization for $250,000. But just ratio-wise, it was pretty similar. I feel like the $100,000 amount it's a fair amount, because it puts it in a place where you're not signing every time we want to buy a box of paper clips. But I think anything over $100,000, we're getting into six figures, and it's nice for the public to be aware, and it's nice for the board to be aware. And that way, really thinking about the governance role of the board with budgetary decision-making, I think it's fitting. So I appreciate the question, and I'd be willing to have a larger amount if the board chose, but I do feel that $100,000 is very reasonable, and I appreciate the question.
Yeah, and as a new member of the board, I realize what our budget is. The overall budget is quite large, and when I see 100,000, it just seemed like it was small in comparison. So, thank you.
And from what I've observed in my role as a board chair, this board likes to meet often. And so sometimes we meet to approve something, like there might even be something in the next few weeks, I think, where they're going to come back to us. So I appreciate your willingness too to come back in and have a meeting, because there's a purchase that might happen over 100,000. And I appreciate the leadership of our district that understands that we do have a responsibility financially for the guidance of our district. And Member Superintendent Magus, and then Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Thank you. And really thinking about some of the work we're striving towards is seeking and living a greater fiscal transparency. I know that our financial status as a school district has improved significantly. We have a much better bond rating than we have previously, thanks to very good work of our previous CFO and our current CFO and our board. So I think that continuing to have that level of transparency and ability for the public to see what we're doing and what we're spending money on, it's a good move for the district, and I think it adds to the sense of positive transparency in the work that we do.
I was just going to kind of share in the spirit of transparency that also you will, as whether you're on the business committee or not, you can, listen to the meetings. You will hear lots of kind of budget items discussed and have opportunities to ask questions, both in that committee meeting, but then also at our monthly meetings too, if there are questions, and besides the many special meetings that I'm sure we will have. But I think in terms of kind of the spirit of transparency, Superintendent Magus kind of went over some of the points I was going to make, but thank you.
So that brings us to our last resolution anyway, and I turn to Member Williams.
No, we need to vote on that.
Oh, we need to vote on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor of the resolution authorizing the superintendent of schools and the executive director of business services and finance to sign contracts and grants, all those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now we can move on to our last resolution from Member Williams.
I move Resolution HR-1-24-4013, employment of a school board member by the district. Whereas the school board member below will be employed by the Duluth Public Schools during their service as a school board member, and whereas Minnesota Statute 123B.195, school board members' right to employment requires that the member receive a majority approval by the school board to be initially employed or to continue in employment at a meeting at which all board members are present, and whereas Minnesota Statute 123B.195, board members' right to employment states that the employment relationship will not exceed $20,000 in a fiscal year, excluding compensation for being a school board member. Be it resolved that the school board authorize the employment of the following school board members as listed, not to exceed $20,000 in a fiscal year. And that is Board Chair Jill Lofald for the timeframe of July 2023 to December 2024.
So I'm going to ask for a second, and then we'll discuss this. So is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Member Loeffler Kemp. Is there discussion? And I will just I thought about this right before too, is that the uniqueness of this resolution, well, there's a couple of unique resolutions, is that there are times throughout all school boards where a member of the school board will be employed by the district. And in small districts, it's really important that this is allowed because it is bus drivers and it is teacher. I mean, well, probably not teachers, they make more than 20,000. But there's many schools that would be really in jeopardy of fulfilling work shortages, especially since the pandemic, if we did not allow school board members to work in the district. I happen to work in the district as a coach, and so, but the caveat about this resolution is stated in the second whereas, is that in order for us to move on this resolution, we need all board members present. And of course, we had it on the agenda because we assume that all of us are going to be here. So we're going to table this. So I'm looking for a motion to table indefinitely, right? Or table, where's my cheat parliamentary procedure thing? Is it temporary or is it, here it is. We are going to postpone definitely, would be my bet. Yes, 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 yes. Meaning that when we postpone definitely instead of indefinitely, we can bring it back to the next board meeting. And so I'm looking for a motion to postpone definitely.
I make a motion to postpone definitely Resolution 1244013.
This motion it needs a second. So we have a second by Member Banks, and then it needs a majority vote. So let's do a roll call vote so that we know we have a majority on this amendment to postpone definitely, so that we can bring this resolution back at another monthly meeting.
Member Banks? Member Loeffler Kemp?
Yes?
Member Lofald?
Aye.
Member Meixel?
Yes.
I vote yes. And Member Williams?
So seeing a majority roll call, the motion to postpone definitely passes. Member, our Superintendent Magus.
Thank you. And I've been out for a while,
We
so-
haven't
Yes.
voted, we haven't
Yes.
voted on this motion
I
yet,
just
so
want to
it's
make a
discussion.
comment,
Okay.
a related comment, more for the public than anyone. If, sometimes we have board members who are employees, and if there's an issue that pertains particularly to that particular employment or that particular position, as Chair Lofold mentioned, she is a speech coach, so if there was a matter of board business that pertained to that petition, or to that position, it's in the best interest and very likely that that member would exclude themselves or abstain from voting. So say we were increasing the salary for a coaching position, that member would abstain from that. And also, we've had many members in the past in substitute teaching positions and other roles, and we also encourage members of the public that are here tonight that we have many employment opportunities. So if you're interested, particularly bus driver, custodian, paraprofessional, and teacher roles. So just wanted to put it in that little plug.
And Member Loeffler
Yeah,
Kemp,
and
do you have a comment?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to also clarify. So when we do pass this, if down the road, somebody other than Jill does accept a position with the district, then we would pass this resolution again with additional names, again with everybody in attendance. So that would be the step if that were to happen. Just to clarify with the plug to work for the district, that was made.
So we have a motion on the floor and a second. The motion is to, did we vote? Oh, that's right, we voted roll call. Okay. Whew. Okay. So we are number 12, questions or other. Is there any concerns, questions, comments by board members at this point? I'm just going to take this opportunity too, our community is here, and beginning in January 2024, specifically January 23rd, our first regular school board meeting, we have a listening session that we invite you all to come, and it is from 5:30 to 6:15. It is a listening session where our community comes before members of the school board to share celebrations, to share information, and to bring forth concerns that they would like to bring before the board. So those wishing to speak at a listening session must sign up by Monday at noon prior to the listening session, and can be done in one of 4 ways. You can email superintendent@isd709.org. You can call the superintendent's office, and the phone number is listed here on these green sheets that you could pick up right as you exit tonight's meeting. You can complete a Google form that's linked on the school board webpage on the district website. Or you can, in fact, in person, if you're in the building during the month, you can stop by Executive Secretary Paquette's office and sign up. Or I would imagine, can we sign up right with Tori at the welcome table here as well? And so just a invitation to all of you to attend a listening session. They'll be offered every month, starting at 5:30 every month of our regularly school board meetings, which is the 3rd Tuesday of every month. So we thank you all for that and for being here tonight. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Member Banks makes the motion. Is there a second? Member Mike Sell is our second. All those in favor of adjourning tonight, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.